Let's talk about how you did it. The Ipsos poll specifically for those three metros, Tshwane, Johannesburg, and Nelson Mandela Bay, the three hotly contested ones, got especially the ANC quite hot under the collar because you said and you predicted that the ANC might lose these metros. How did you find this out? Who did you speak to? How many people? Where did you find them?
This was planned for the 8 weeks before the election, and we took a strategic decision with ENCA right up front to speak to people using their cell phones. They were first of all recruited on a process we call CAPI, computer assisted telephone interviewing. We used a system called random digit dialing, which means nobody chose the numbers, the computer generated the numbers. We then phoned the numbers and recruited people onto this panel of voters, a voters panel basically, and there were about 3,000 people on this panel. And then every week on the Monday and Tuesday, we would phone back at least 1,500 of them, speaking to them about different issues. We asked two questions that were the same every week about the feelings about political parties, and we asked about 5 or 6 parties. Everybody had to answer for every party, and then we spoke about which party would you vote for, and then every week there was a different question as well. We projected these results to the people who have access to cell phones in the 3 different metros. We knew we were missing out, say, 5 to 10% of the population in those areas, and throughout the 8 weeks there were between 15 to 20% of people who said that they don't know or they wouldn't tell the interviewer who they would vote for. And obviously that group really held the sort of the key to this whole process. In the end, we married those results, perhaps the best way I can explain it, to a national poll we undertook of about 4,000 interviews that were done face-to-face in the homes and in the home languages of respondents that were chosen randomly throughout the country. So not only the big cities, but also deep rural areas. And this combination of all these polls together is what our forecast is based on.
Okay, so let's talk numbers, Marie. Do you think this whole issue of an historic election where the ANC might lose power has been a bit overhyped? Do you think in the end the ANC, as they've shown before, has pulled through in the last week of campaigning, has convinced especially those undecided voters to vote for the ANC again?
They convinced a lot of them. But there are still quite a lot of people who are not going to vote ANC this time, who voted ANC last time. I do think the ANC will get less than 60% in this election if we look at it on a national basis. However, there's no way that the ANC will lose this election. However, there might be some of the especially larger towns and cities that will have a coalition government or will have an opposition government. For instance, if we look at the EFF, that is the first local government election that they are contesting. It looks like as if they will get about a quarter of the votes in Limpopo province. So they are doing quite well this time. If we talk about Gauteng, I really think the metros in Gauteng are too close to call. The ANC and the DA are very close to each other, both in Johannesburg and in Pretoria. In Ekurhuleni, I think the ANC will get above 50%, not without effort, but they will. And then Cape Town will definitely be DA, which will be an easy victory. And then I think Nelson Mandela Bay